Hello, everybody. Charles Alvarez, CEO of Cornerstone Growth Solutions. Thank you for joining us for another podcast episode. Today, we are joined by Dell Heles of Computer Market Research. He's got some great things to share with us. He's been able to grow a very successful company, and I'm looking forward to hearing from him. Dell, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Well, cool. Thanks for joining us. Why don't we start by just giving a little bit of background about who you are, your career, and how you got here, and what your involvement in computer market research is.
Certainly. Yeah, my name is Del Heles, and I started computer market research back in 1984 in a little bit different marketplace, of course, because it's 41 years ago, and with a little bit different product suite than we have today. We were doing more traditional marketing research back then, and writing articles for computer magazines. And back in the mid 80s, there was lots of them. I mean, probably a dozen or more. And and we kind of evolved into what we do today, and that is collect channel data from distributors and retailers for manufacturers. And when I say channel data, I mean they're what we call channel POS, point of sale, information as to who they sold it to, what they sold, and how much they charge for it. This, of course, is critical information for the manufacturers because, particularly in the high-tech space, the shelf life of their products is quite short,
Yep.
and they want to make sure that it's not sitting on the shelf for 6 months. So, finding out at the end of the quarter how you did doesn't work anymore.
Very true. Very true. So, of all the different things you could have gotten into, first of all, how did you get into this in 1984? And like you mentioned, a lot of things have changed since 1984. How did you go about evolving, innovating to make sure that you were relevant given the times?
So yeah, that's an excellent question because there's been a lot of evolving as time goes by. The first company I started right out of college was a distribution company. We were a wholesaler and sold pipe fittings, valves, plumbing, and heating supplies. And I owned that company for 9 years and sold it and moved to first Colorado and then to California, where I started computer market research. And my knowledge and background of the distribution process played an integral part in making that all happen. Our first client was Acer America. At that time, they were called Multitech. This is 1985, I believe. And they were quite new to the United States out of Taiwan. They had 32 employees. There was one American and 31 Taiwanese, and which is quite typical when Americans set up a company in another country. The first employees are always Americans, right? So in for other countries and other businesses, it's the same thing. When they come to the United States, they bring in their own people initially and then start hiring local employees. Anyhow, I was hired as special assistant to the president as a contractor, and provided the president with information about what was going on in sales and marketing and distribution. One of the first challenges we had was what were our distributors selling? What's getting stuck on the shelves? What's moving? What's not moving? So at that point in 86 or 87, we started collecting invoice level data from distributors to analyze the movement of product. And that was very early on. It was met with a lot of resistance from distributors because, of course, the first thing they're afraid of is that the manufacturer is going to steal my customer.
Yep.
I don't want you to know what I'm selling things for or who I'm selling them to.
Right.
So
None of your
initially,
none of your business, right?
yeah, exactly. Why do you need to know? And of course, we had very good reasons that we needed to know, and we provided them. And you know, as trust started to grow, uh, it became a little bit easier. initially they would not give us the customer name, but they would give us the zip code that the product was sold into, which is what we needed to be able to calculate commissions for the sales team, right?
Yep.
So as time evolved and as more people got involved, as Hewlett Packard and Compaq and some of the other companies got involved in the industry and also started demanding the POS data, channel data. The information started getting a little easier to get, and the data set became more robust. We started getting the reseller names. Uh, and then for companies, we actually put together some programs that assisted in that. In the late 80s, we put a program together for Western Digital that paid the distributors for every new reseller they brought on board. Well, in order to make that program work, two things had to happen. One, we needed a list of all their existing resellers, right? Because we're not going to give them money for them, we're giving money for growth.
Right.
And from that point on, we needed to get a list of all the new resellers and analyze it. And then we paid them on a per reseller basis. And that worked great. The distributors liked it. As you probably know, distributors are trying to generate cash wherever they can because it's a very, very low margin business.
Yep.
And, generating cash from additional programs is quite important. So that started. And of course, once it got going, even after they stopped the bounty of paying per reseller, we still continued to get the information that we needed. So it was very successful. I think it cost Western Digital at the time maybe $20,000 for everybody. So it was not an expensive program.
Very cool. So tell me a little bit, let's go in more into that. Tell us a little bit about who your target market is, what challenge they may be having, even if Dell, they may not know that they're having it because it sounds that, I mean, you can go to the internet, right, and get all the information that you want. But to me, I've always said there's a big difference between information, insights, and wisdom. So, what are some of the things, or first of all, who's your target market? And number two, what are the challenges that they are having, or may not even know that they have, Dell, where maybe a conversation with you and your team might be appropriate?
So, that's an excellent question. And our at this point, our target market are manufacturers that sell through distributors and retailers or resellers. Okay. Anyone that sells through the channel. Okay. Their problem is multiples. One is collecting the data from their partners. And of course, the high tech space is pretty used to this. So the distributors comply quite well. But you step outside of the high tech space, and we have many customers that have other products. Floor tile and linoleum is one of them. Electrical components, and by that I mean wire and connectors and all of the basic stuff that's been around forever. Their distributors aren't quite as compliant. They're a little challenging to get the information out of. So then starts the other problem. Once you get your partners to comply and provide you with the data, um, it comes in all kinds of different formats. It
Yeah.
comes in Excel files and CSV files and XML files and EDI, et cetera. So that's problem number one is just, okay, how do we standardize these files so we can get the data into a database? Then the next problem is the data itself. As it comes in and each distributor sometimes has their own methodology for creating part numbers. So
Yeah.
you have to match up the manufacturer's part number with the distributor's part number. Then you can supplement it with description and product category information. You also have the problem with who's buying the product. Uh, a company CDW, which we all know in the high tech
Yep.
space,
Yep.
you'd think that would come in just one way, right? CDW. That's not that complicated. We have at least
Famous
yeah,
last words.
yeah, exactly. We have at least a dozen different variations of CDW. It's CDW Logistics, CDW Incorporated, CDW Company. It goes on and on and on. And so those have to all be cleaned up and matched up because otherwise you don't know what CDW bought, right?
Right. Right.
So cleaning,
Or which CDW.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You have that problem also, but and then CDW's probably not the greatest example, but Staples Office Supply.
Yeah.
Okay, which store did it ship to? Because we're going to be keeping track of commissions, and we need to know what territory it shipped into. So that becomes a little bit of an issue also. So collecting the data is problem number one. Cleaning the data is problem number two. And then we get to the third one, which is the one that you alluded to a little bit, and that is, okay, how do we start analyzing this data? How do we start making value of it? And one of the things that I've told our clients for 40 years is don't ask questions that if I give you the answer, you can't do anything with it.
Right. That's a great point. In other words, information's great, but if I cannot benefit from it, then what's the point, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So in the early days, that was one of the issues we had at Acer, and that is on the warranty registration cards, right before the internet, they put, "Are you a male or female?" And I said, "Okay, so why are you asking that question? What can you do with it
Yeah.
ultimately?" And of course, back in those days, because you didn't have the ability to slice and dice data and do things by gender, et cetera, they couldn't do anything with it. So I said, don't ask the question.
Yeah.
You have a hard time getting people to answer these surveys in the first place. And the more questions you ask, the more difficult it becomes and the lower the response rate. So
Right.
you really need to be prudent about how you ask and what questions you ask. So that's issue number one. And then we start looking at, okay, let's start analyzing product, pricing. Let's start trying to compare with your competitors, which is quite difficult because it's very difficult to get competitive information. NPD used to provide it,
Hmm.
but we found their data because they interpolated it. In other words, they took a sample and then they used mathematical calculations to try to come up with the results. Were not too accurate sometimes. And of course, we knew that because we collected the actual information and we have customers that would come to us and go, hey, look, NPD's saying we sold $3 million at Best Buy last year, but our records don't show that.
Yeah.
Can you tell me through the POS data, what did Best Buy actually purchase from us? And so we would go back, and of course, we had the actual data, right? Transaction level stuff, and tell them exactly what was purchased. And of course, it wasn't matching. So they started questioning the sample data that they were getting. NPD doesn't do that anymore. It's done by another company, IDC, and they're using it for quite different reasons. So it's not really the issue that it used to be. So collecting the data, analyzing it, and then start looking at, okay, how can we benefit from it? Which led us to our ability to grow and expand. So now suddenly we took that channel data, the POS data, which we feel is where the rubber meets the road, right? That's really what's causing the bell to ring and the cash register to ring. Then we started building programs around it, like marketing programs, like co-op MDF programs. And that is, if you buy $1 million worth of stuff from us last month, we'll give you $20,000 to spend on advertising, but you could only do it for these specific activities. You have to send us in proof of performance. So that's our co-op MDF module, which of course relies heavily upon the POS data. The next solution we built was deal registration, which is Bank of America wants to buy 1,000 42-inch TVs, LCD screens or LED screens. But they're not going to go to Staples and pay retail price for it, right? They want a reseller to give them a better deal
Right.
and install them, right? So the reseller can go to our partner's website, fill out a form, which is actually on our website, but branded for the partner, that says Bank of America wants 1,042-inch monitors and they only want to pay $375 for them. So that's called a registered deal. Uh, so the vendor would say, okay, well, at that price, we can make some money. The distributor can make some money and everybody's happy. So they do the deal. But what happens then is that's a price adjustment. And the manufacturer now has to issue a credit to the distributor who shipped those 1,000 monitors because the distributor paid full price for it. And
Ah,
suddenly it was sold at a discount.
right.
So our system uses what we call automated ship and debit to go look at the deal registration, go look at the POS data, and calculate what the credit memo should be. And there's millions of dollars monthly processed that way. Our system can check 22 different things in those transactions to make sure that the deal was registered. It's what everybody agreed to. They said 1,000 units. They bought 996. So it calculates all of those things and it issues a proper credit to the distributor and or reseller, depending upon who initiated the discount. So that was quite a useful tool, as was the automated ship and debit. So, suddenly now we're into 3 or 4 different programs. We also initiated one called special pricing authorization, which is, okay, we're going to give you this special price for the whole quarter, not just one customer, but for the whole quarter. So that was beneficial. We also included some training. We have an LMS system in the portal. We have a portal which we use single sign-on. Now suddenly we have all this data that the sales guys need. And back to your question a minute ago, we integrate with the CRM tools in the industry, Salesforce being one of the more popular. And we push the data up to Salesforce. So a sales guy can go look at one of his customers and see exactly what they bought, who they bought it from, what they paid for it, and analyze whether they need some more.
So it
So
sounds to me like you're not just providing the data and the insights, which is very valuable, as you know, but also you're helping the sales team and the company monetize it by integrating it with their system so they can call them and say, hey, we noticed that you bought our Bluetooth camera. Have you ever considered our Bluetooth whatever? So it's not just providing the information and shaking hands and have a nice day. You're providing a system and a process to help them monetize it, correct?
yeah, absolutely. In fact, in a couple of ways. One, we send out a weekly report that says, here's your new resellers that showed up this week, right? And here's what they bought and who they bought it from. So it gives them an opportunity to pick up the phone and try to get them to do that. We also have what's called an open to buy report. We keep track of how much inventory the distributor has of every product and how much they've sold, right? So we'll go back at the last 6 months and go, okay, well, you're selling about 1,000 of these a month. And right now you only have 200 in stock. So if you're going to carry 4 weeks of inventory, you need to buy 800 more and
Right.
we need to ship them. So it's called an open to buy report. So they also get that, which is quite valuable. So yeah, and there are other reports and information available. We have a whole web page. It's probably got 30 different reports that the sales reps or the administrators and sales ops people can run.
Very cool. So let me ask you this. So for somebody listening to this podcast, what are some challenges that they're experiencing? Or, and even Dell, what are some of the symptoms of those challenges? Like, for example, gosh, our sales at Best Buy have been stagnant. I wonder why. Or our sales at Costco have been lower. I wonder why that is. So what are some of the challenges that they may know explicitly, Dell, but what are some of the implicit challenges that they may not even know they have that is a symptom of a much deeper problem that you can help with? What does
Well,
that look like?
and that's a great question. As you know, in the channel, which is manufacturer, distributor, reseller slash retailer, right? The manufacturer really isn't down on the streets and understand exactly what's going on at the retail level. So getting that feedback is critical, and they can get that through multiple solutions. Uh, Deal registration is one of them, new accounts, but we have a module called volume incentive rebates. And that's kind of a four pillar system where at the beginning of the quarter, there are goals set for the distributors and the retailers
Yep.
that they want them to reach a certain level, and those are typically established per product category, not just overall, but for each product category. Then, as you go through the quarter, uh, there's a dashboard that will show them what they have attained so far for the quarter. Are you on track? Or are you behind? Or are you ahead? And then we also integrate with the deal registration so that we can see what is in the pipeline and then what level can you expect to reach based upon the current data. And they typically set up between 3 and 5 tiers, and they will give a volume incentive rebate uh, that is different for each tier. So, for example, maybe tier one is a 10% growth, and they'll give them an additional 1%. Well, that doesn't sound like much unless you're selling $5 million worth of product.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So suddenly it becomes real money. And then tier two may be 12%, and tier three may be 15%. And those can be set by the vendor depending upon, their profit margins, et cetera. So that's kind of helps them get down to the street level as to, okay, what do we need to do to help move some of these products? So that's kind of the important thing is the vendor really doesn't understand what's going on in the street as quickly as the retailer or the resellers do.
And you could do that for them without have them spend weeks or months going to every retailer to find out, which obviously by that point, things may have changed so dramatically that they can't even keep up. So it sounds like the speed of information or insights you can provide them is phenomenal, and there's no way they can get the information as fast. Is that correct, Dell? Yeah.
Yeah, so if LG Electronics wants to know how many 42-inch monitors they sold in San Francisco last week, Tuesday at 2 o'clock, they can go look it up on our website.
Gosh, very cool.
It's very difficult for companies to do that internally because their internal IT department
Forget it.
just it doesn't have that for their priority, one. Secondly, they don't have the domain knowledge of, okay, how does this work? What kind of format am I going to get the data in, et cetera? We've stepped into a lot of situations where, the company had been relying on their internal IT department to get and collect this information. And, they were getting it 30 days later. They were having a hard time cleaning it up and matching it up. And our motto is kind of, hey, look, we're better, faster, and cheaper than you are, because that's all we do.
Right.
It's our area of specialty where your poor IT department, I mean, their priorities are what? Shipping product, billing, sending out invoices, and creating financial statements.
Yep.
And once they got that all working okay, then maybe they'll be able to help out the sales and marketing department.
No, and I know that a lot of our people listening to this are in the IT field, and for those that I'm connected with, this is not a shot at IT by any stretch of imagination. I remember I started my career at Accenture, Dell, and in 1995 of all years, so I'm kind of dating myself a little bit, right out of college, and I have never met an IT person that hasn't said, "I know this is a priority for you. Give me 5 or 6 months. And let's face it, Dell, with all of the demands and constraints IT departments have, especially with the budgetary constraints to try to save money in that department, which we all know what that means. I don't want to say it out loud, obviously. Uh, Having somebody that can already provide that information quickly so they can focus on other things, it has to be a breath of fresh air for them that they don't have to do it, and a breath of fresh air for the sales team to give them clarity to say, oh, this is what we're missing out on. Let's go do this and be laser focused about it because one of my thing is, okay, let's make sure we're actually solving the right problem. It may not be a marketing problem. It may not be a product problem. It could just be that we're not concentrating on the right clients, customers, or products or set of products. So it sounds to them that you can equipment and really give them a competitive advantage by giving them that information, not only giving it to them, but making it easy for them to access. That's the key thing is, we know most companies have thousands of applications. It really sounds like you make it easy for them to take actionable steps on the data you provide them.
Yeah, and I think that's borne out by the fact that, the clients we've had for a long time, like 12, 15, 18 years. We do not lose customers. Our retention is over 90%.
Amazing.
So, it kind of goes to the fact that they're happy with what we do and the service and the amount we charge. And you are correct. I mean, they need that information quickly. It needs to be accurate. And, and believe me, when I say accurate, I mean really accurate because guess who checks the information? The sales guys. And if they
Yeah,
miss a deal that they didn't get the commission for and weren't able to make that BMW payment, they let us know immediately.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. Very well. It's fascinating what you do. To me, it's always been interesting with the amount of information that we have. I think in some cases it overwhelms us. In many cases, overwhelms us. Whereas what you're providing is timely, actionable information that they can use to, let's face it, make money. I mean, at the end of the day, the only way to make more money is increase sales, cut costs, or increase productivity. Those are our only three levers we can push. And it kind of sounds like you're pushing all three.
Yeah, we try to do that, and yeah, I totally agree with you. And of course, getting that data in a timely manner is critical. So, we enjoy what we do. I mean, LG Electronics is one of our better customers, and they're like family. I mean, we meet with them every Tuesday at 10 o'clock, right, and discuss what can we do next, what programs are we rolling out, et cetera. And they're a great client, obviously a big company, but that's the kind of relationship we have with our customers, and we enjoy it.
Yep, that's fantastic. Dell, is there anything that we haven't touched that you think would be important in terms of helping your clients or people listening to this leverage your data to make more money?
So you kind of alluded to it a little bit, and we're kind of dipping our toe in the water, so to speak. But when you said, okay, people are getting overwhelmed with information, you're absolutely correct. And in fact, artificial intelligence, AI, Chat GPT, and the others are making that problem even more significant because now suddenly we have just a ton of information available, and we're a little leery as to what we can trust because we know that the AI models sometimes will hallucinate and make things up, right? So
No, really?
so we have to be able to, differentiate between reality and what is being created.
Right.
And we're starting to do that. But, it's a very complicated situation and not the least of which is security. I mean, you get in all of these messages that say, hey, look, you can't load your data up into an AI model unless you require them to secure it and not share it, right? So there's a lot of complicated things as we get into this AI world, and um, large companies in particular, are kind of slow to adopt
Yep.
because they want to make sure that it works, it's clean. I mean, it took us forever, and I'm saying from 1986 to 2000 to get people to trust putting things in the cloud.
I
And
know.
you
It's
know,
still an issue. I still hear people say, I don't know if I want to do that. It's like, come on, guys, you know?
yeah, yeah. Well, and actually, Salesforce kind of helped push that along a lot in 2001, right?
Yeah.
But we had been doing it a good 10 years before that and fighting an uphill battle because there are clients that just said, hey, look, if you can't do this in our environment, we can't use the data that way.
Yeah.
So, today it's not as big of an issue. I don't think we get any objections to that now. But again, we're looking at that same scenario when it comes to artificial intelligence, and that is okay. Now we're not shoving the data into the cloud where we have secure files. Now we're sending it up into this neverland,
Yep.
and we don't know where it's going or what it's being used for.
Right. And I've always said, look, I'm a technologist at heart. And people say that God may have stuffed me as a technology guy. They just forgot to close me up. He just forgot to close me up because he closed me up as an entrepreneur. But one thing that I always say at the end of the day is let's be careful not to call AI a silver bullet.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, to me, and this might making it way too simple, and forgive people that I'm connected to if you completely disagree, which is fine. I'd love to have a conversation. Is at the end of the day, I believe AI is software, very powerful software. But here's the thing: the software, and I remember this back from my Accenture days. The software is only as good as the data you feed it.
absolutely.
And that's why a lot of AI projects are failing because the information they're taking in is not the single source of truth or it's not accurate information. And so companies make decisions on it and turns out it's wrong and they feel that they're back to square one saying the whole reason we did AI is to get insights to what we're doing wrong and now we're still not getting it right. So it sounds like you really help solve that problem and chances are for your clients they're probably better to use AI better because now they can trust the data because it's accurate. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, and that's one thing that you have to do with AI is you can't throw garbage in there. That's that old Texas tech saying, garbage in, garbage out.
Thanks for throwing my alma mater into it, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate
I
it.
thought I'd throw you under the bus there.
It's the first time somebody's ever used my alma mater, so I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, but yeah, it is what we have to be careful of with AI, and we have to be able to validate the results. I mean, we can go and let it provide all this information for us, but at the end of the day, there has to be some audit of it to go, okay, it didn't hallucinate. It actually gave us some good, valuable data. And of course, that's the role that we feel we need to play as a software development company. And that is, okay, let's make sure we create the prompts correctly. Let's make sure we feed the data in there correctly so that the results that we get back are useful and valuable and timely.
Yep, makes sense. Del, you've been a great guest. I love what you're doing as a company. Having a company since 1984 is a tremendous accomplishment, especially given the fact that 90% plus companies after 10 years no longer exist. So that is a testament to your team. That is a testament to your business acumen and wisdom and being willing to innovate and go with the times. But what's interesting, the cool thing I love about all that is that with all the things that's changed all these years, you're still providing insights and value to your clients. It's just that the technology has evolved, but you're still, it sounds to me like you're delivering the same value. So that's great. Del, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you to learn more or to discuss how you might be able to help them, what is the best way for them to do that?
Oh, they can go to our website, computermarketresearch.com. They can give us a call, shoot us an email. I mean, we're pretty readily available. We're a worldwide solution, so we have meetings at all hours of the day. Uh, yeah, we're readily available.
Computer research or
Computer Market Research.
computermarketresearch.com,
Yep.
computermarketresearch.com. Del, Thank you so much for being our guest. This was fantastic. I love what you're doing as a business and having information that is actionable to generate more sales for the company and put more money into a salesperson's pocket as well as the company is just awesome. So thank you so much for being willing to be our guest. I appreciate it.
So I'm going to throw one last minute pitch at you.
Please.
We're giving a $50 Amazon gift certificate for anybody that gives us a referral that lets us do a demo.
That's fantastic. That's great. That's great. With the holidays coming up, and with inflation, that's fantastic.
All right. Well, it
Thank you,
was
Dale.
nice talking to you also, Charles, and wish you luck in your podcasts.
I appreciate it. And I wish you the best in your business. Thank you for being our guest. I appreciate it, Dale.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.